I would like to begin by firstly thanking our sponsors, our associate sponsor, BizCan, our hospitality partner, the Grand JBR Hotel, our travel partner, Travel Light and Easy, our photography partner, HDRI Studio, and our sound partner, the Thastu. So it was a great session, that is for that. And hello, I am Shreya Gupta. Being the startup co-founder myself, I am sure I have learned so much from such stalwarts about their journeys and their insights. I am quite sure it has truly bumped all of us sitting right here to achieve the goals and, to look out for your entrepreneur that Ramaji has mentioned. This brings us to our second section, which is the expert opinion. What is it that venture capitalists and angel investors actually look for while investing into co-founders? As it is rightly said, individuals don't build great companies. It is the team that does. Let us have a hear on what our esteemed panelists have to say on what they look for while investing into a company. On that note, let us welcome our first speaker for the day, Dr. Aarti Gupta. Dr. Aarti Gupta is a seasoned investor. Dr. Aarti Gupta is a seasoned investment strategist at her family office of DM Gupta, that is the Jagran Group, for over 13 years. She is also the Chief Investment Officer at DBR Ventures, a venture investing firm that invests in innovative early-stage startups with transformative solutions. Dr. Gupta has also served as an investor on India's first reality startup funding show, The Horse's Stable. She is named among the 30 women torchbearers of Indian startup investment space by Inc. 42. Dr. Gupta currently serves as the national head for Fiki Flow Startups and is the chairperson of the startup committee of the Merchant Chamber of Uttar Pradesh. As a TEDx speaker, she actively speaks on topics related to entrepreneurship, investment, and finance. Dr. Gupta is a PhD in economics from IIT Kanpur, a postgraduate diploma in business studies from Harvard University, and a master's degree in economics from the Northeastern University. We're extremely delighted to have you on board with us, and we look forward to your expertise on the topic. We would like to welcome our second speaker for the day, Mr. Tushar Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal is a partner at Dexter Ventures, which is investing in pre-seed and seed stages in India. He has built the angel syndicate Dexter Angels from scratch, started in 2019. Dexter Angels has 550 plus investors in their syndicate and have made 30 plus investments till date. Prior to this, he was a principal at Solidarity Advisories, managing capital of a family office in the startups. He has worked at ICICI Bank and Renault Nissan earlier. Tushar finished his business school from IIM Indore. At Dexter Ventures, he is building India's most sought-after venture company for India in the startup stage. We're truly honored to have you with us and look forward to your knowledge on the subject. I'm delighted to introduce our moderator for the session, our TiE Charter member, Mr. Shivendra Mohan. Mr. Mohan is a serial entrepreneur who has converted his creative ideas into fruitful business strategies. A successful co-founder, a national-level shooter, and a philanthropist at heart, he is a third-generation entrepreneur with an experience of over 2 decades. He is the owner of Professional Logistics Services in India, a leading logistic and supply chain management company with clients like LG Electronics, Crompton Greaves, Jindal Steel, CF Tires, etc. In 2021, Mr. Mohan expanded his operations to Canada, where he owns Professional Strategic Solution and has co-founded BizCan Management Corporation, a business purchase advisory company headquartered in Vancouver. Shivendra has a strong reputation for himself in helping Indian businesses and exploring business opportunities in Canada. He is a passionate shooter, having won gold, silver, and bronze at national level, represented India in Czech Republic and Germany, and has won medals in Canada as well. He is also the treasurer of the UP State Rifle Association. It is a pleasure to have you here, and we would love to see you shoot a few questions at our investors.
Thank you. You're very kind with your words. And welcome Aarti and Tushar. We've had a wonderful session, and now we look forward to your insights. Till now, it was the people on the other side of the table, the co-founders, who are asking for money. You are the people with this who hold the strings to the purse. So my first question is to you, Aarti. What are the key characteristics that you look for in a co-founder? The project is evaluated by the professionals, the CAs and CSs, but in the person, what is it that you look for?
Hi, good evening everyone. Lovely to be here and amazing first session. Kudos to all entrepreneurs there. Got some lovely insights from the other side of the table as well. So when I was approached for this topic, I was like just giving it a little thought, and I think it's an extremely important topic which is not given that much of emphasis, at least in terms of discussion, right? Like it's given a lot of emphasis as an investor. We give a lot of emphasis to a founder, but it's not openly discussed. And I was just thinking, like, you know, as an early stage investor, the founder, the human capital of a startup is extremely important. Like, you know, today I have investments in listed space. I may not know who's the founder of HDFC Bank, but even if I have 5 lakh rupees in a startup, I will know the founder, his LinkedIn profile, what he posts, whatever it is, like, you know, because you kind of start up, a founder is extremely important. Evaluating co-founders, for us, there's certain characteristics which we look of. The first one is complementing skill set, like, you know, and are the roles defined in that same way? You know, what do co-founders, why are they co-founders? Why have they formed a team together? Are there complementing skill sets? And the roles of CEO, CMO, CTO, whatever CXO you call it, are they defined correctly? That's very, very important, because a lot of times, at least in early stage, founders need help with this. So that is one. Another one is trust and communication. So, you know, and that's going to go like 2 ways. One is, do you trust your co-founder? You know, and what is the relationship between the co-founders or co-founder? And one is, even though there is trust, and a lot has been spoken about already, even if there is trust, is there a channel of communication where disagreement can be presented? And I'm going to say that, you know, we do, as an investor, and I've learned this over experience, on the surface everything looks hunky-dory, right? You need to pose certain questions here and there to kind of see and recognize where the cracks are. And I'm going to just start off, because I don't want to give theory knowledge over here and whatever. I'm just going to give an example, like, you know.
Please.
Yeah, right away, because I can list down the points and so can ChatGPT over here, you know. So it's, so we were evaluating this food tech startup, like, you know, had a first Zoom call, excellent, like, you know, found like great chemistry between this thing, idea was great, product was great, things looked great, went, set up the next set of meeting, went to meet them. You know, one co-founder, obviously there's always an alpha founder, you know, the alpha founder was like, you know, we're going to do this and we're going to do this, have limited, abhi Delhi NCR में ही है, but France, Germany, सबकी बात हो रही थी, you know. And as investors, we were getting a little put off with that, you know, and whatever, the other co-founder was like quietish, but somehow I noticed that he was getting a little squirmish, and he could notice that as investors, we are kind of, you know, getting a little squirmish kind of a thing about this. TiE, but nonetheless, like, you know, their expansions, they can always be molded, it's early stage, whatever. We finished the meeting, we were getting out, the co-founder came running and said that, listen, I know I don't agree with my founder on this, and, you know, but we'll work it out, like, you know, don't let that go away. That was a straight no for me. You know, if you can come behind your co-founder today for something as simple as this, it's a strict no. There should be a communication channel open enough between you to kind of have that conversation, I'm not comfortable with this. When you come to an investor, you come together as a single team. So communication and trust. There are other couple of things like, you know, ethics, you know, that has to be solid with both the founders, co-founders, but that goes for like the founder, the knowledge, the background you bring in, but they're all common stuff. But I think one of the biggest challenges for co-founders or a larger founding team is A, the clarity of roles, like who's in the driving seat and what roles do they have, and second is communication and trust between them.
Excellent, excellent inputs. What about you, Tushar?
Yeah, so like Adi said, right, when you're an investor, and like us, we are pre-seed and seed investors, right? So when we are investing, there is just founding team out there with a vision. So when you're doing such kind of investing, it is imperative to understand who are the people behind this particular business, right? And startups in many ways is just a team. It's not a business, it's a team. It's a team which has a vision to achieve something. So effectively you're evaluating a team, whether you can bet this particular team with your capital or not. And with such kind of stakes involved, you want to understand the person very, very deeply, right? So when we are looking at founders, the first thing which we are looking at is how much skin in the game do they have, right? So the first thing which I want to understand from a founding team is how did they come up with this idea, and how did all the co-founding team members came together, right? What's the story behind that? And I think that is the question that sets the stage for me in terms of understanding and forming a view on the business. Because if it's a weak story, right, and if the people who are involved in building this business are only for coming in to make the money, I think there's something amiss. A lot of time the founding teams which succeed because they have a particular mission regarding a particular problem which they are trying to solve together, right? And each one has a certain role in solving for that mission. So understanding their passion, their motivation, how much capital they have invested in the business. If somebody comes and says that they are just starting out, or they will join the team full time only if the fundraise happens, right? That is again a big no-no, because you have to show your skin in the game. Then only an investor is going to be convinced to put their capital behind you, right? First you have to put your capital behind yourselves. So yeah, I mean that is one of the key things which we are looking at in co-founding teams. Others, of course, complementary skills, which everyone has spoken about. Are the founders chosen for merit, right? I mean, there was this whole debate around, brothers becoming co-founders, there's husband-wife duo becoming co-founders. We have invested in all of them, right? But the co-founders have to be chosen on merit. It can't be that just because somebody is your friend, it has become a choice of, it has become a decision of convenience, right? So what each one of them bring on the table, and of course the dynamics of the team, right? So I mean, I've also seen certain examples where, let's say a co-founder or a CEO is just over-dominating everyone else in the team, right? That's not a healthy sign. So we are looking for people who can work together with each other for a really long time, and that each other person is respected in the team for whatever they bring on the table. There may be cases that one is better in communication, one is better in product, one is better in doing sales, one is better in understanding technology. But at the end of the day, each one of them has to be respected for what they're bringing on the table, right? So I think these are some of the things which we look for.
I am reminded of a workshop I took in the early days of my career, where they told us that they are not 4 P's of marketing, they're 7. So the two of you talked about the other 3, people, pace and passion. Because if there is not passion, I don't think you can do it. If you're just there for the money doesn't start coming quickly. Okay, over to you, Aarti. Can you give us an example where the presentation was not as professional as a McKinsey would have made it, but then the people were so passionate that you decided, no, we are going to back this team?
Like a co-founding team, like a multiple this thing.
Single, multiple, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of times, especially because I invest in early stage, a lot of times the presentation is, or the product, the idea is still baking. Let me not say half baked, like, and I think for a startup, even if you are pre-IPO, your ideas are still baking only. So, investing into startup is art and science. The science bit is looking at the numbers, but the art bit is betting on the founder, right? Which forms a majority part of it, because at the end of the day, they need to execute that vision. Sometimes the way they present, sometimes the way a founder may present their idea, they may not get the narrative right, but the passion which they are, वो लगता है कि यार कुछ तो कर जाएगा. And in fact, like one of my startups again in femtech space invested on her solely because she was so passionate about the cause she was trying to solve, and was a techie, did not know how to sell, but was so passionate about it. And I'm happy to say that the startup just got bought by another startup. So we did see some sort of an exit, even though she couldn't succeed in her own vision. It kind of got bought by another startup. So my idea is like कभी-कभी लगता है founder को देखकर कि यार मतलब कुछ तो हो जाएगा. So yeah, there are tons of cases like that. I think at an early stage, you are betting on the founder and their passion, their willingness to kind of do or die to execute that idea.
So passion is now a decided cornerstone. So Tushar, what do you have to add to this?
Can you repeat the question?
My question is that sometimes the pitch is not all that glittery or glitzy, they don't have all the jargon in place,
Sure.
but you notice something about a person and you decide, no, this is a person I'm going to back, even if their English is not Cambridge and Oxford, but I think, so what was it? Give us some examples.
So see, as an investor, your edge as an investor comes when you figure out something which others are not figuring out, right? So you are always looking for something different, something unique, right? And there is a template. I mean, there is a template of the kind of people which get funded, right? But does that mean that only those folks can get funding? Not really. You have to understand, I mean, from an entrepreneur perspective, you have to understand what is an investor looking for. Effectively, an investor is looking for a team which can execute and which has a big vision, right? So, I mean, myself, I can talk about myself, right? I'm always looking for my biases, right? And I come from a tier 3 town. So for me, it's always thinking that ये skill नहीं है तो बाकी skill क्या है, and can this person sort of build a large business, right? So I don't think so. Presentation is a factor, but definitely a very big factor when I'm thinking from future funders' perspective, right? So out of all the questions which I'm trying to answer, one question is, can this team raise funds after this round, right? I may choose to decide to invest in somebody because I get aligned by their vision, I get moved by their story. But क्या बंदों में दम है, whether they can raise another round or not, right? That's where sales skills matter. That's where your presentation skills matter. But you know that those things are coachable. So the person is coachable or not is also going to play a role in the whole scheme of things. So yeah, I don't think so. People reject somebody because somebody is not being able to present well. But the passion or their domain expertise has to come across, right? You are looking for something in the founder. As an investor, you're always in the mode of saying no because you're seeing so many pitches. You're also short in time. You're trying to figure out very quickly whether you want to invest in this team or not. You want to spend more time with this team or not, right? So there should be some pull which the founder or the co-founding team should have. It sorts of makes me think I should have another conversation and let me go out and check what these guys are pitching, right? So a lot of time it's not presentation skill, it could be domain expertise. I mean, somebody, let's say, like the Samudaya team building the ONDC, I mean, they have been in this journey so early on, right? So if I'm looking for investments in ONDC space, I would not care about what their presentation skills are, right? So, I mean, without sounding snobbish, right? I mean, the idea is whether I can learn something from this guy, whether I can bet on this guy to sort of multiply my capital, and is there something which is pulling me to their story, right? That's what people are typically looking for.
I think I just want to add over here, a lot of times entrepreneurs think that we are looking at the presentation. We've already seen the deck. Nobody's looking at the presentation. A good investor is not looking at the presentation. A good investor is looking at you. Having said that, you should have the knack of good storytelling. You should be in whichever language, body language, Hindi, English, Telugu, Marathi, you should be able to convey your story properly to me as an investor कि ये problem है boss and मैं ऐसे उसको solve करने वाली हूँ. Yeah?
Just to add on to that point, so I mean, people talk a lot about pitch deck, right? I mean, I see consultants charging some hefty sum to prepare pitch decks for founders, right? Pitch decks are important. Their role is, there's a template, right, which an investor wants to see. What's the problem you're solving, what's the solution, what's your unique advantage, what are your competitors, blah, 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 right? That should be in place. Once that is in place, beyond that, it really doesn't matter how much jazz you're putting in your pitch deck, right? What matters is, in that short period of time when you're having your first conversation with investor, are you able to convince them about your vision? Right?
Perfect. I have a question for Aarti. Now, generally when we talk about evaluating a person, there are three aspects: knowledge, skill and attitude. Which one of the three do you think is most important?
Evaluating a single person?
Yeah. Like when I'm individually evaluating a person, I see knowledge, I see skill and I see attitude. What do you see?
I think most important is, for me, for any person not just investing in startups, is attitude. Because if you have a learning attitude, you can always gain knowledge and develop a skill. But if you don't have the right attitude, then I mean, it's a no game, like, and that goes for anybody in life, I think. Like, attitude is, your attitude towards life, your attitude towards your company, your attitude is number one. Knowledge and skill can be acquired and learned.
Perfect. So, my next question is slightly complicated. So, how do you determine the level of equity? Now, let us say there are multiple co-founders. There are 4 people. One is the expert of the field in question. The other 2-3 are help complementers or investors. How do you decide who do you play your cards on?
I don't think it is for, at least for me as an investor, to decide who should get how much equity. That is an internal conversation which founders and co-founders need to have within themselves. What I can do is, if I'm presented with a company, I can evaluate if the equity is proportional to what I feel their skill set is. For example, if I feel that somebody is extremely talented and have only 5% in it, I can express that as an opinion that this is the reason I don't think this is fair, and maybe invest in it or not, depending on whether they're willing to change it. But I don't think it is up to me to dictate a founding team that isko itni equity do or usko itni equity do, because at the end of the day, I'm not the captain of the ship. I'm onboarding that ship, I'm buying a ticket and getting on it. Whenever the captain needs help, I'm there, but I'm not the captain of the ship. So I don't think it's up to me to decide that percentage.
Okay. Tushar, what are the 2 or 3 most common mistakes that you see when you reject somebody for funding?
Okay, before answering that question, I just wanted to add a few more points.
Please, by all means, I'm sorry.
I think a lot of co-founders, they struggle with this question. At least, young founders, कि equity कैसे distribute करना है, right? Like Aarti said, it's not a role, but I mean, at the end of the day, equity distribution has to be fair and equitable. And the way to sort of decide this is key, which person started the business first, which person has put in how much capital into the business, and who joined the company at what point of time, right? But this is such an important discussion and it has to be closed upfront. What investors don't like is, flexible structures की equity अभी इसको दे रहे हैं, transfer कर रहे हैं. I mean, all that has to happen before you start having the conversation with the investor. Also, a lot of times, which becomes a big no-no for us is when you are building a tech business and you say that your CTO holds 1% or 2% in the business, right? We typically like to see a CTO in a tech business because we feel that you can never hire a CTO. We feel that a CTO is a person who's driven by the mission of the venture. And that person will only stick with the venture if he feels like an owner of the business, right? If somebody is just given high salaries and the title of a CTO, it's not actually a CTO, right? Because one, you can't afford, any startup cannot afford the best CTOs because they are the most expensive resources out there. And that person will only join if he believes in the mission with which you are building the business. So, these are some of the ways through which you can decide how equity can be, distributed amongst all of you. And I think it has to be fair and equitable, like I said earlier, because a lot of times I see young founders, saying that guy is my co-founder, but I'll give them 1% of the business. So I don't think so we have ever invested in a business where co-founder holds 1%, right? It may be applicable in situations when the business has grown too much and now you're rejuggling the founding team and you're bringing in, resources from below and making them co-founders. But early stage businesses where we invest, I think equity distribution has to be much more fair. So those are some of the thoughts.
It has been an absolutely amazing session. I have been an entrepreneur for 20 plus years, but this has been an amazing, enlightening session. But no session is complete until we get the audience. Do we have any questions in the audience?
Shivendra, I want to actually address because there was this one question about, relationships, right? Husband-wife. There was a big question about this, right? As co-founders. And so I do have married co-founders as part of my portfolio. I have brothers, friends, all sorts of combinations and permutations and combinations in it. I want to say what is the apprehension of an investor with family co-founders, whether it is brothers or whether it's husband and wife. And this is a lesson which I learned very early on in my investing journey. It was the first startup of mine which shut, and you never forget that, because I feel when they're husband and wife, and it's not that it's a no, I still invest into them. I'm just saying what you need to be cognizant of is when they're a husband and wife, the chemistry between them, the bond is too strong, and the problems of home come into problems of business as well. You need to evaluate for key person risk, which is similar to a single founder, because it's one household. If, for God forbid, and this happened in my startup, where one of the founders, the wife, fell ill. And the husband was so devastated that because of no rhyme or reason, the startup had to be shut. So from then on, what you need to do is you just need to put in that risk factor कि ये हो सकता है कि कल को अगर वो एक household में कोई risk आता है, that will affect the entire startup, and that is the risk which you need to just plug in when you're evaluating a husband-wife startup. I don't think it's a no. I think there are some great examples. In fact, I come from both sides of the families being family businesses. So I think family businesses are amazing, We've seen our family business grow from nothing to something really big. So I think the potential is tremendous. As investors, you would like to evaluate that, and you would like to make sure that they have some sort of a team. That kal ko agar if there is something in the family which comes, where both need to go away, for whatever reason, there is some team which can handle this. That is the risk. Because there was a lot of question about, husband, wife, being co-founders being a problem. I don't think in today's day and age that's massive a problem, but we do see that as some aspect of risk. It comes with its positives as well. They're working 24/7. So, it comes with its benefits as well, but there is a risk.
Just to add on to the point Aarti is making, right? It has to be a relationship of a co-founder. I remember very vividly, I was having a call with a husband-wife duo, and it was only the husband who was speaking, right? And it felt so strange because it was not coming across that the wife is the co-founder of this business, right? So it has to be a relationship of equals. We have invested in Vezo, which is a husband-wife duo, and they are doing very well. So, eventually, see, at the end of the day, investors want to make money, right? So, if as a co-founding team, you can show that potential and you can show what each one is bringing on the table, I don't think so everyone will have some of these biases. Some people do because they are having their checklist and they have to sort of go through all the companies and figure out which ones to talk to. In fact, some of the great examples like Mamaearth, like Sugar Cosmetics, those are husband-wife duos, so what are we talking about?
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions in the audience? I see a hand. Can we get a mic to the lady first?
Hi, good evening. My question to Aarti. What is the right time to approach for a venture capitalist investing in a starting company, startup? ये कब होना चाहिए जब वो आइडियलिस्टिक मतलब जो है इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में हो या उसका प्रोडक्ट जिस पे लॉन्च हो गया हो इसमें होना चाहिए कि लास्ट में उसको कब अप्रोच करना चाहिए?
I think there are different investors today in the ecosystem who invest at different stage. There are investors who invest at idea stage. There are investors who invest at pre-revenue stage, post-revenue stage, Series A, Series B. तो अलग-अलग investors होते हैं. You should seek funding when you need funding. You have to recognize that why do you need funding? Why do you need somebody external to come and take a part of your business? Because that is what funding is, right? You're saying कि आज मैं अपनी equity, अपने business का हिस्सा किसी और को दूंगा, So when
and I have a startup by the name of Preserve. So we started the brand about 6 months back and we're actively looking for funding. And one of the questions that I think I want to address with the both of you is, so I have a great founding team and I have a mix of both. It's me and my husband and a friend. So there are 3 people and we have 3 different verticals. And we do a lot of the work ourselves. But beyond that, as investors, what's the next layer of the team that investors look at? So co-founders can only take the business that far. But who are the next, say, top 2 to 3 people that an investor looks at that an early stage startup needs to have?
Dolly, right? Yeah. So, Dolly, I think that would really depend from company to company. Depends on what skill sets do you bring in as co-founders. So if you have tech skill set, if you have product skill set, if you have sales skill set, maybe you're missing an HR person, If you are great at marketing, if you're great at product, you're great at storytelling and fundraising, maybe you need a techie. So it really depends upon what skill set you're bringing to the table. At a very early stage, I think the emphasis is on the founding team, and the founders do not have the money where they can make big hires for the next group. So you are everything from the coffee person to the copier to pitching and to kind of selling the product. So you are doing everything, but eventually as a team you will need to recognize which is your strongest skill set. And then, I'm an economics student, so law of comparative advantages, which country can do best, do that and then outsource the rest. So that depends from company to company, and that comes out for an investor. It comes out when you're pitching. What is your strongest suit, and what do you need? So again, company to company.
Yeah, adding on to what Adi said, I think one of the super skill which people don't talk much about is building team. I mean, the best founders are people magnets, right? I think everyone knows that you can't build a team just by yourself, build a business just by yourself. You need to build a solid team. And it's only team which sorts of scales businesses. So, if you are that person who can pull people to work with you even for lower salaries, right? You have proven yourself to a degree as an entrepreneur. And I think that's something which we sometimes like to see. At what pay scale are you hiring your senior resources, right? Are they willing to join you because they are driven by the mission with which you are building the business, or you are paying them hefty salaries, right? Which is not sustainable in a long period. Secondly, like Adi said, I think people who are hiring too much and being too dependent on building teams very early on is also a big negative. And I can say it from my experience that when I invested, so I've invested in around 50 companies, and there was this company which was not even generating revenue, and they had the highest salary cost, and that could be a business which was not consumer tech, so they could generate revenues. And I think that was a big red flag for me. Why is such a big team required, right? So in that scenario, it also shows a certain lack of leadership in terms of not being able to do the critical task yourselves, right? But I think second level of management, even a little early on, shows that you have the ability to bring in high quality folks in your team. So yeah, I mean, depends on the stage where you are at. Depends also on the business and the context of the business. If it's just a product business which can be built by two techies working together and one sort of sales guy, then probably a very small team is fine. I mean, when WhatsApp was acquired by Facebook, they were a 50-member team, right? And they were acquired for billions of dollars. So it depends also on the business.
Okay, last question, over to you.
Hi. So my question is like before
Your
investing.
introduction, please.
I'm Aditya. So I'm a partner of Punjab & Sons out here. We have a jewelry store. So my question is like before investing, currently do you have any sector specific like your circle of competence that you want to put in money into, or any kind of business like if it is edtech or you want to go for EV or whatever it is? Like do you have such things in mind before investing, or any good idea can be like you can invest in those also?
Yeah, as DBR, we are sector agnostic. Like we are open to all sectors, but we, depending upon the cycle of the economy and certain preferences for certain sectors, we're favorable to some sectors.
Currently, if I ask about like which all sectors do you want to focus on?
I'm biased towards consumer. I have an inclination towards femtech. Anything which kind of caters to women's needs, need not be founded by a women founder, but women's health, women's financial stability, financial literacy. Space tech is quite hot right now. Fintech was, edtech was, not currently in my opinion, but overall we are sector agnostic. We're open to ideas. Really depends
so
upon...
if I talk about fashion or retail, so that is also a good sector going on right now, or how is it?
Yeah.
Your views on it.
No, absolutely. Like I think India is a huge consumer market, and fashion and retail will always be a booming sector. What aspect of fashion and retail are you trying to solve? It will depend upon all of that bit as well, right? Like what is that problem you're trying to solve, or are you trying to invent a problem? It all depends upon that. I think there are I don't think any sectors as such are bad. Identifying a problem in a sector is the key, and you solving for that problem is the key.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think in complete sync with Adi, so we also invest across sectors, but there is a certain negative list, right? So sectors which we don't understand, or where we feel that regulations are a little haywire, right? We will not invest there. We are also very early stage investors, so we will not invest in something which is going to take too long a time to commercialize, right? So apart from that, each investor will have certain themes which they like, and that will play a role in their decision making. So one advice for young founders is to also understand what it is that an investor is talking about, right? So they know that these are the right kind of investors they have to approach, whether they are keen on investing in the spaces in which they are operating or not, right? So they also need to do some ref check, some sort of research on the investors before, let's say, reaching out to them.
Thank you.
I am so very grateful the kind of insights this discussion has opened up. I am not sure many people knew about before today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so
Can I ask out of the audience one question? If there are co-founders, and I know you're getting late, if there are co-founders in there, I just wanted to understand how many of you have co-founder agreements? Have you heard of co-founder agreements? Do you have one? Just getting a feel in the room, because we're starting to talk about this a little bit within our circles, and I just wanted to get a feel in the room about.
Yeah, so we have.
You have a co-founder agreement, not your marriage certificate.
No. We have.
Okay, that's nice.
People actually ask for our investor.
Yes.
Look, you will get the second round
Yes.
of funding only if you have a co-founders agreement.
Yes.
This is sometimes you don't figure out that this could be important. But
Yes.
on the go we learned that this is important, and thanks to our investors, they did guide us out to that.
So it's something which we've also been kind of insisting. I feel the best time to make an agreement is when things are in your heydays, when everything is fine. It's better to make agreement rather than make an agreement when there is a disagreement. So just a parting thought for everyone, whoever is a co-founder here, not a bad idea to just simply put down like a co-founder agreement out there.
Yeah, so I completely second Aarti. We don't do any investment without a co-founder agreement. And I think what is the most important clause of a co-founder agreement is, let's say if one of the co-founder leaves, how is the equity going to be treated, right? This is where, when this point was raised by Sachin that 90% of the business was shut down because of co-founder fights, right? It actually happens on equity. So if there is a founder which has substantial equity in the company, leaves the company, that company is not investable anymore, right? I have seen horror stories, right? In 2022 heydays, every other business was getting funded. An investor funded the convertible instruments. It's getting a little technical, but convertible instrument is basically tomorrow or later we will decide what the valuation of business is. And those are very thin documents. And those documents don't really cover these clauses which are good lever, bad lever, how is founder equity going to be treated. And I've seen investors now invested in companies where the co-founders, because of convenience, came in 2022 and now have separated, and business are those just zombie businesses because somebody holds significant equity and is not working in the company anymore, right? So we do sort of push every founding team to do a co-founding agreement, and you guys also need to sort of do some research policy.
So मैरिज सर्टिफिकेट से काम नहीं चलेगा, co-founding agreements करिए हुजूर. And one last question.
I am Tarun. I have a question. How do you act? Like, what happens when things are not going according to your judgment? और आपने किसी को invest किया, किसी company में invest किया और mid term में आपको ऐसा लगा कि it is not going as per plan. So what actions do you take at that time? या कुछ आप suggestions देते हो? What is the mode of?
Depends on how involved you're with that startup. We strongly, at least I strongly believe in mentoring and hand-holding the startups a lot. Also depends on what kind of rights you enjoy as an investor, you know. If you enjoy board seat, if you enjoy, what kind of rights do you have, what percentage of equity do you have in there. At the end of the day, like I said, you can mentor them, you can guide them, you cannot drive that car for them. You're not the captain of the ship, like, you know, you're not the driver. So, fortunately, nothing of this sort has happened. Maybe remotely, yes, where we were trying to convince a founder to take a deal and the founder was insistent that it's not in the favor and is willing to shut the company but not do this deal. As frustrating as that was, I think you had to go back to the bed and say that at the end of the day, it is the founder's company, you know, and you as investors, you're aiding and abiding them, like, you know, you're helping them out execute their vision. So if it doesn't align with their vision, you cannot force anything unless you hold that kind of equity in that company, right? You know, but personally, I don't believe in that sort of an approach of kind of forcing down my decision into a founder. I wouldn't want that for my business, and I don't want to implement it on somebody else's business.
Yeah, so completely second Aarti. I think practically it is impossible for a minority investor to play a huge role if, let's say, things are not working according to the plan. Your best bet is to support the entrepreneurs in what they are doing, and possibly through a right intervention try to, you know, get the best advice for everyone's interest. But yeah, you cannot push founders to do anything. It will not work in your favor. And like I said, agreements are made for the worst of situations, right? So a lot of time founders think that why are investors making me sign this 40-page document, right? But that 40-page document comes to play when, you know, worst situation arises. So yeah, I mean, those are some of the things which you can.
It's very important to decide which investor to get on board as well. Like, you know, extremely important. Like, you know, be very careful. I know it's money coming into your business and sometimes you kind of this thing, but very important to understand who's investing and with what intention.
Excellent insights. Over to you, Shreya. I know you've been waiting and I'm very sorry to have overrun the time, but the session was so interesting.
Absolutely.
I just could not let go.
Even I was not wanting to end this because the question and answers were really, really good, but we have a time to kill. So thank you so much for your insights. You know, one big takeaway is it's your attitude and not your aptitude that makes you that person. You know, the investment starts with you. So thank you so much Tusharji and Aartiji for your insights on the topic. I would now like to felicitate our guests. May I call on stage Mr. Rohit Manglik, Mr. Shashank Manchanda and Mrs. Priyanka Manchanda to felicitate our panelists. Can we have an applause for them? That was a great session. Therapy. That's Mr. Tushar. Actually, not you're going away with only one. We have a lot more gifts for you all. Priyanka, you can do the honors for us. That's a personalized book. And for Mr. Tushar as well. And how can we forget our own moderator, Mr. Shivendra Mohan? Thank you so much for your insightful questions. So Sharvi did not have a flight to catch, you would probably extend this for an hour.
Yes, I personally would have.
We would have loved that.
Shreya, join us for a photograph.
Yes, absolutely.
Panelists.
All our speakers, our panelists, moderators, our team really work hard behind the scenes. So please a huge round of applause once again. I really want to hear that word. बहुत शांति हो गई, बहुत serious discussion हो गया. Yeah, so thank you so much. So on behalf of TiE Lucknow, I would like to thank each one of you because आपकी प्रेजेंस के बिना कोई भी इवेंट सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो सकता है. So thank you to each one of you. Firstly, I would like to thank our esteemed speakers for sharing their inspiring and informative stories and learnings. Their valuable insights and experiences and expertise will be incredibly helpful for all the entrepreneurs present today. I also extend my sincerest thanks to our partners and generous sponsors for their invaluable support in making this event possible. So बहुत सारे लोगों के support के साथ event successful हुआ है. So I would like to invite our ecosystem partners. सब लोग नहीं present हैं, but जो भी हैं, so I would like to invite them. So our ecosystem partner, outreach partner, Infinity. So Survi Srivastav, can we have you here? And then we have Renuji from LMA. We have Anandi from IIA. Because आप लोग हर event में you really support us. Thank you for the big help.
I'm the only one?
No, please.
So even if you are only one, you get it.
And then I would like to invite our sponsors, हमारे जो मीडिया तथास्तु, so our sound जिन्होंने पूरा arrangement किया है, he's our charter member also, so Tarun Dhameja, and then Amit Arora ji from HDRI photography, because आप सबकी help के बिना ये event इतना बड़ा नहीं होता. So the other partners, so BizCan, investing in Canada, thank you sir. Then ecosystem partners, Infinity Connect, III, JCOM, LMA, media partners, Business of Lucknow and Lucknow Pulse. So radio partner, Radio City, hospitality partner, the Grand JBR, Tapasya is not here, but she's our charter member. Travel partners, Travel Light and Easy by Khushbu Tandon. And the sound partner, yes, Tarun is here. Thank you, Tarun. So our gifting partners, the Buttercup Bungalow by Aarti Vaid, the Tea Saga by Shreya Gupta, Donut Therapy by Ashish Moga, Bake with Love by Jatin Aswani, and last but not the least, Prakash Ki Creation by Shashank and Priyanka Manchanda. आप हर बार हमें support करते हैं. Thank you very much. So, and now I would like to invite the committee who really worked hard behind the scenes. अब सब फटाफट आ जाओ. So I would like to invite Cass for all the creatives. Thank you for all the creatives. Mr. Manish Nath, helping in logistics and bookings. Brijesh Singh for logistics. Ashish Singh Moga, gifting partner and operations. Nilakshi Agarwal, being our digital partner and host. Shreya Gupta, our gifting partner and hosting. Snigdha Mishra, operations and partnerships. Dhruv Bhala for operations and partnerships.
Sir, thank you so much, Manish.
And they are our TiE commandos. So just a small token of appreciation. Thank you from TiE Lucknow.
भाई ताली जोर से होनी चाहिए.
So they've really worked hard, gift लाने के लिए, publicity के लिए. So the house full is because all of them, they have really worked hard. Shreya's there. Shivin, can we have आपकी दे दो? So you and Sachin are the chair for the event.
So we'll not bore you off further. We'll have a quick photograph here, and if you want to proceed, you may proceed with the tea and coffee out there. Ashish, are you around? Ashish Moga.
So last but not the least, Gaurav, can we have you here?
Last 1 week he's been burning the midnight lamp. Thank you.
आर्मी एंड ट्रेन को भी मिलनी चाहिए तो थैंक यू शशांक so they are died now like to invite our volunteers Alex
तुम्हारी है ना
Nikhil Rawat
हेलो
Avinash Paswan